Hello and welcome to a Star Citizen podcast. I am your host, BoredGamer, and I'm joined by the lovely Zinnia. Say hello, lovely Zinnia.
Hello, lovely Zinnia.
Start of August, it's beginning of August. We've got a few things to talk about today that I am quite excited to talk about, from player homesteads, which might be player bases, contested zones, asteroid bases. A lot of this might be coming for 4.0. We've also got Alpha 3.24 in Wave 1. We'll talk a bit about that because there's potentially an economy balance that's been going on in the background and the cargo career stuff's been being tweaked. And phase 2 of the Ship Showdown starts next week. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So how are you doing, Zin? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm all right, mate. I've had a nice weekend of going to Costco, which is like a big wholesale supermarket for people that don't know that. Zin was very keen to get me to go there, and lots of board games this weekend. Anything you get up to? Anything exciting?
No.
No. Okay, no, perfect. I mean, that's at least honest. We can just we'll move straight on to something more exciting.
Yep.
Player homesteads. Zin, I showed you a clip on the Star Citizen Twitter, which a lot of people didn't see and weren't aware of, apparently, because when I put it in a video, people were like, what? What's this? Where's this from? So yeah, on the Star Citizen X, they put out a little teaser of hangers and some bits for 3.24, and then went, hangers 3.24 stuff is like the first step towards bases and having your own personalized space in the verse. And if you want to know more about personalized spaces in the verse, player homesteads. And they showed a few seconds of player homesteads and said they'd tell us more at CitizenCon this year. What did you think that these player homesteads were that they showed?
Player homesteads. I mean, it looked like a almost prefabby sort of. So
basically, a player base that you might place yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that is looking at it more. I think that is exactly what it is. Because originally, I thought maybe that outposts that you take over and you can sort of spawn at. I thought maybe you could find them around, but it just looks like a simple placed prefabby structure.
Yeah, it looks out of place, sort of thing. If you get what I'm saying, it's not like it's not been purposefully built for like mining or you know, like as an outpost or anything like that. It's literally,
it's not one of the integrated outposts.
Yeah
I totally agree with you. And they were showing off in these, there was like a little living space, and then they showed a load of storage area, which was sort of weapons, armor that was all on display. And I think that if we get some form of base building by the end of the year or early next year, then this is the sort of thing it would be. Very basic structures that you can then put storage in. Is that what you'd expect as well?
Yeah, I'd also expect maybe, so obviously they have grand plans for base building, and it's all being sort of modular and like you sort of put things on the sides of other things and expand out. And I'm thinking that this is maybe like the first step. This is the first thing you can have. There will be more to come in the future, and when that's available, you'll just sort of tack it onto the side sort of thing, and then it will grow. Like, well, I say grow, you know, you'll build it as it comes sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that you're probably kind of right with that. I'm thinking that this is going to be the simplest and smallest or small scale of base building. So something you'd be able to do potentially by hand or just with a vehicle, not pioneer-sized, where, yeah, you're building big parts of bases and then sort of maybe connecting them together. Because it's likely that all these base structures and stuff in the future will be modular. Obviously, they've talked about needing blueprints for some of these buildings, needing the materials, needing the correct thing to craft them, be that by hand or by vehicle or by ship or whatever. And then eventually we'll have to actually have fabricators that we can build inside these structures, or some of them, and then we'll be able to build ships and stuff. So the first step of that, and actually having a base where you can store stuff, awesome. Do you think with the first initial steps of homesteads that we will have somewhere that we can land and store our ships? Or do you think, how would you, somewhere we can spawn and store? Or do you think that's too crazy?
I don't know how they do it.
Well, they'd have underground, you'd have underground hangars, right? You'd have the same platform that they've got in 3.24 for hangars where they take
so I don't think you'd have an underground hangar per se. Like this is what my brain's taking what you're saying. It would be like an outside platform that you get at other locations.
Yep.
I don't know if and how they've changed. and you would essentially store your ship underground. So when you, as persistent hangars are currently in the PTU.
Yeah, that's basically what I was saying. Like, you've seen them in 3.24 where they literally go into the ground and come out of the ground. Yeah. We're talking about the same thing. I think I just explained mine poorly. Not a giant underground structure for a hangar. I see. Yeah, just a faked. It goes into the floor, despawns.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. I think that is the simplest way of doing it, and I think that really, if you have player base, you kind of need to have ship storage or vehicle storage or something like that.
Even if it's restricted by size, you need something.
And it should be restricted by size, because otherwise people are going to have capital ships underground in their little tiny huts.
Well, I don't think you can have capital ships in hangars, can you?
Well, that's a good question, because some of the larger ships, there aren't hangars large enough for them, but they might be in the future. Or there might be ways that maybe there's dry docking armed places that you would land at, and some of these large ships might not be able to break orbit properly without help and things like that. It'll be interesting to see where they go with these huge ships. What's the Javelin going to do? Can I land the Javelin and get the Javelin out of orbit, or does it need a huge amount of assistance?
See, in my mind, how I would have it is that if you're going to have a ship that big, then you're going to have to be paying essentially like a rent almost to store your ship or keep your ship at a low orbit station, yeah? Yeah,
totally agree. Have high costs to these sort of big warships.
It's because it's like owning an expensive car in real life. The upkeep of that car is also expensive.
Yeah.
You don't just buy an expensive car and then just, run it into the ground. That's stupid. You need the money to be able to keep the upkeep.
I do think that if you go, you have to have upkeep on these ships like that, there should be an option for you to go, well, actually, I'm just going to put my capital ship into long-term storage.
Yeah.
And it's sort of super cheap or no upkeep, but it takes you 3 days to get it out of that storage.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I know we went off on a tangent there, but this is the sort of tangent I want on the podcast.
Yeah.
People, tell us what you think that we're going to see at CitizenCon. What do you think these player homesteads are? Do you think they are actually going to be proper placeable player bases, the first stage of that? Do you think we're going to actually have them in our hands by the end of the year, or just shown off at CitizenCon? Yeah, tell us in the comments what you think. So, Sin, contested zones.
Yes.
CIG showed these off in Inside Star Citizen. They are going to be a feature of 4.0, or at least planned to be a feature for 4.0. They described them as MMO dungeons.
Yes.
You're at a pyro station. You can literally just walk through some airlocks, and then you're in the contested zone where effectively there's loads of enemies and there's loads of loot to find. There's puzzles, there's keys to find, then you open the doors, there's timers on some of these doors. You can stay in these contested areas. For the longer you stay in them, the more loot you basically get, and then you need to get out with the loot. So to me, that sounds like an extraction shooter.
Yes.
Rather than an MMO dungeon. But what do you think of these? How would you describe them to someone else?
I think, I had to Google extraction shooter, but I do know what an extraction shooter is. I just didn't realise that's what they were called.
Gotcha. Because we've played a couple. What was the Rainbow Six one that we played? Was it Rainbow Six Extraction? What's it actually called that? So what do you think? How do you describe them?
I would probably say they were more like Escape from Tarkov, surely.
Which is an extraction shooter.
Yeah. But in the case, because they said it's like an MMO dungeon. It's it's similar, but it's like if you go in and you die, you lose everything,
Yeah, you do.
It's not like playing an MMO dungeon where you'd still have your gear, you just lose all your loot.
Yeah.
I agree with you in the fact that it is more of an extraction shooter. Would you be able to go back in and get your gear back and everything off your dead body?
I think you would. We don't know the restrictions for being able to enter it and how is it done. Is it semi-instanced? Is it restricted? And that sort of stuff. We don't 100% know. We know that they're supposed to effectively not be dynamic events. They're always going to be there for you to do.
Yeah.
And they basically said other players will be able to sort of turn up during your exploration of that, but we don't know to what extent. Because if players want to get the most loot from that, you just wait at the exit.
Yeah.
And then shoot the people as they come out. But there could be multiple exits. So some restrictions and that sort of stuff probably are going to be there We just don't know what they are yet. And the CIG are going to test this and refine it hugely. What I do think, though, is that at the moment, that particular type of dungeon or whatever is an extraction shooter dungeon, but they've got a framework there for MMO dungeons. They can do lots of different types of gameplay and restrict it in different ways, and then that makes it an MMO dungeon in lots of different forms. The only real reason it's an extraction shooter is because the nature of Star Citizen, and you die, you effectively lose everything that was on your body, and other players can turn up, and the way it was looty sounds like, yeah, that's effectively an extraction shooter. But you change some of those, the way they do it, or exactly what's going on in that dungeon or whatever, or that contested zone, then it becomes a very different kind of dungeon. Like if you had respawn points in the dungeon because you've got the medical facilities in the dungeon or something like that, very different experience. I absolutely love these. I love the idea of them. I don't want them to be camp at the exit PvP fests. That's my only concern.
Maybe they'll have like loitering turrets. If you're caught loitering, the turrets become active.
You know what? That's not an awful idea, is it? Because they said that the stations at Pyro, the social areas, were still going to be green zones. Once you get out of that contested zone, you're safe and you can bank your loot. And I suppose the other thing with the contested zones is that you would go, I'm just going to wear the gear I need. I'm not going to take any expensive gear in with me. I really like the idea. I think it's a great idea. And I think as a framework to build other types of experience off, awesome. Obviously, there are going to be issues and problems that CIG need to solve. And I want them to have restrictions on player entry, and I want it to tell you when other players are in there. I don't want to just be surprised by, and there's a player hiding behind a door. Obviously, he's going to get the jump on me. Yeah, I'm excited to sort of see this. Is this the sort of thing that excites you, or not your kind of cup of tea for gameplay?
I mean, I'd probably give it a try, but you know what I'm like with PvP, so...
But you quite enjoyed the Division. You liked the Division, the Frosty survival one, didn't you, that had PvP in it?
I liked the Division. I didn't like the Dark Zone. Okay.
So yeah, you liked the PvE content in it,
yeah,
especially the difficult PvE content, but not the PvP stuff. Yeah, it's too anxiety inducing, right? We're old. Stop our arts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, I'm excited by them. I'm hoping other people are as well. Tell us what you think of contested zones and the sort of directions that you'd like dungeons and extraction shootery and contested zone elements to go. Something else for 4.0, asteroid bases. What do you think of these? Are these exciting new areas, or are they just the combining of asteroids and space stations into a pile of prefabs?
I mean, it's just more area for possible missions, really, isn't it?
Yeah, slightly different area, making use of other bits that we already have in game. Simple as that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good, because otherwise you'd get sick of the same stuff over and over again. So
yeah, and with asteroid bases and some of this stuff, you can do them a much more procedurally, like ship encounters and asteroid bases. I think you can probably do them super procedural, because you can say they've been blown up or new ones have been discovered because of asteroids breaking up or whatever. I just punched my mic. I do apologize. So yeah, cool little zones planned for 4.0. Lots of them in Pyro, just expanding out of gameplay area. Not bases. They're not player bases. That's the other thing. They should be called asteroid stations. Anything else you got to say about asteroid bases, contested zones, or player homesteads, Sin?
Not really, no.
Perfect. Well, let's move on to Alpha 3.24 Wave 1. We were waiting for this for absolutely ages, and we've got Wave 1 now. It's not hugely stable. There are a load of bugs in it at the moment. I actually think it's a bit more buggy than the last couple of Evocati builds that we had. The last Evocati build, before they put this out to Wave 1, was a bit less stable for me than the previous one, but at the moment they're sort of doing a load of bug fixes, and we'll be covering a load of gameplay for that, potentially later this week when we have a little bit of a better build of that. Some of the other stuff that they've been doing as well, tweaking some of the ship sort of values, just trying to fix a load of bugs, getting stability and performance, all that sort of stuff up. And they've apparently been doing a cargo career and economy balance sort of pass at the same time, getting this in good order. Apparently some of that, or most of that's completed now, and CIG will be talking more about that later. What's important for you for the live build of this, Sin? Is performance, stability more important than getting these features in, and so they can then sort of work on 4.0? I'm sort of interested to know your sort of level of, I want a playable alpha at the moment, compared to I want them to get 4.0 out as quickly as possible.
I think stability is always going to be more important.
Okay, yeah, just because of the way they've sort of marketed the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, I'd also like it for the new things that they're putting in to actually work.
Yeah, okay, that's also fair.
I had lots of trouble with the ship elevator.
Freight elevators, yeah.
No, the ship one.
So the actual spawning...
Yeah. So it wouldn't take my ship back. It kept giving it back to me.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if I'd swapped ship, it might have worked. And it's like, no, you have to have a ship out at all times. It's like, I don't think I do.
Okay, interesting. I know there was loads and loads of problems with freight elevators and the cargo management of that, and spawning ships, despawning ships. And if people had loads of items as well, loads of ships, loads of cargo and stuff, it was causing huge problems. It's one of the reasons they're running that IMQ network message queue sort of update test on the tech preview, which I think is going to be later this week. Again, they sort of want to get the network spam, as they call it, as optimal as possible. So that there's no bottleneck there. I think that's just causing loads of knock-on effects and desync and interaction lag and just tons of problems. So there are issues with Wave 1. It's going to be a while before it goes to live. You might have it by the end of the month if we're lucky. It depends on where the PTU and the bug fixes go. What's your sort of confidence level for how long it's going to be until it's in our hands live?
Oh, I don't know.
Come on, Zin, you're the best with the times and the dates.
I mean, they're not having much luck with it at the moment.
No, they're not. But there's some cool features in there. They're having luck in certain areas. It's just other areas, not so much. The cargo stuff is impressive, and it touches on everything.
I'll give him a month.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you think potentially...
beginning of September. Or end of August, beginning of September.
Okay. That's good. So 4.0, we know, is sort of planned to be out before the end of the year, roughly. Lots of people are hoping for October for CitizenCon. We will have to play it by ear. We don't know. I'm not sure if CIG know. Do you think that's fair to say with 4.0, or do you think CIG are probably actually aiming at a date?
I think they don't know.
Okay, yep, cool.
Especially with the state of 3.24 at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that they thought they were going to be able to get this into 3.23.
Yeah.
But I understand why they've renamed it from an X build. It's not 3.23.x anymore. It's 3.24 because it is pretty hefty in terms of time investment and coding and feature. Anyway, let's move on. The Ship Showdown Phase 2 starts next week. At the moment, people are still making social posts and little videos and music or whatever about their favourite ships. Don't expect to see variants of ships in this. What I mean is multiple variants. So, for example, don't expect to see more than one Cutlass. What I want to ask Zin about is, what variants do you expect to see? So, the Cutlass series, what Cutlass would you think would be chosen if it makes it into the Ship Showdown?
Probably the Cutlass Black.
That has traditionally been the one that gets chosen, and it does pretty well in the Ship Showdown. And the Hornet hasn't always made it. It's only made it a couple of times. But there's the Hornet Mark IIs now. Do you think the Hornet Mark II might make it in this year? It's pretty popular, right?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know. I mean, it's popular with the people that have got them. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like Vanguards. What Vanguard would make it? Because often a Vanguard will make it in. And it's the same with the Avengers. Although, almost certainly, if the Avenger makes it in, it will be an Avenger Titan. So do you think that is the more popular one?
Yeah.
And like sort of one that, if you want to spend a little bit more on the game beyond just a starter pack, that is the ship that I would recommend you move up to and then get everything else in game. But what about things like the Constellation? If the Constellation makes it,
I don't know.
A lot of people like the Taurus, but the Andromeda typically is the one that gets chosen. I'm not sure of the level of popularity for it. Now, CIG this year are very much going to be doing some extra voodoo behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is they're going, look, there's 8 categories of ships, and there's 2 ships that are going to make it into each of those categories into the Ship Showdown. And yes, we're obviously considering all of the social posts and what players are saying about ships. That's the main thing we're considering. But also, we're taking into account other factors like playtime and some other stuff.
Yeah, I'm not too happy about the playtime thing.
Okay, why?
Because there'll be a lot of starter ships that are the only ship that people have. And they'll be using those.
Well, I mean, the starships, they won't win. They're unlikely to win, right? It's possible to win.
But
I see what you mean.
There's going to be a bit of a skewed time spent on ships, is what I'm saying.
I see what you mean. Well, maybe it's only going to be a factor in certain elements or in tiebreakers or stuff's close. Like the issue is that we don't know exactly the voodoo magic that CIG are putting in here. And it just gives them, for me, it gives them carte blanche to do whatever they want. They can just go, let's just put these ships in for marketing purposes, right? It feels a little bit of a perversion of the ship showdown, but not that worried about it. It is going to be typically the most popular ships. And then we'll get grumpy if like the cargo Argo wins again. Doesn't and shouldn't. I mean, you vote
cargo.
for it. Well, you vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'm only joking. But this year, with the Argo tractor and the effective making of the Argo MPUVs modular, I do actually think they're a lot more useful than they previously have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested to know what people's favourite ships are. Mine's the Mercury Star Runner. I believe yours is the sort of Cutlass Red, or that's the one you'd vote for in the ship showdown.
Yep.
It'd be interesting to see if maybe a different Cutlass makes it this year. There have been some interesting new ships. I mean, I think a lot of people like that Nursa, the medical variant, and a lot of people like that Hornet Mark II. But would it be the Hornet Mark II 7A, or would it be the civilian version? Will the F8 make it in? Like, there's a load of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like, I love the F8. Absolutely love it. I don't think a huge amount of people have it. And then do we see ships that would typically make it into the ship showdown, like the Cutlass, like the Corsair, or like the Mercury Star Runner, get dethroned entirely? Like, do they not even make it this year because of the different categories, only getting 2 of each of those ships in?
Yeah.
Because obviously there's not a huge amount of industrial ships, but there's an industrial category. And there's a vehicle category and a small guys category. It's just an interesting one. Is there a starter ship category? Maybe they need to just expand out more categories, and then it's not so much of an issue.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the first time they've done it this way, so they might still tweak it a bit in the future.
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, for the last 3 years, they've been tweaking. So yeah, there's industrial, racing, combat, exploration, transport, alien, ground vehicles, and the little guys. So the little guys might be starter ships as well, right?
Yeah, I would imagine the smaller ships, the things like the Argo Cargo, Argo MPUV.
MPUV-C.
Yeah.
Yeah, you correct me, I'll correct you. So I'm interested to know what other people's favourite ships and vehicles are. Tell us what you would vote for. And obviously for the ship showdown, it's only ships that are flyable in-game or drivable in-game currently that are eligible. There is going to be a free fly from the free fly will be between the 15th and the 22nd. More about that once we know more. Obviously, I might be slightly off, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And then the top 4 of the ships at the ship showdown get something made for them at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. You know all this already. We'll talk about it more in the future. That's the podcast. Tell us what you think about player homesteads. Are they player bases? Are you looking forward to them, even if they're just super basic? Contested zones, I'm actually excited for. Are you? Where do you hope the MMO dungeon sort of elements go? Are you okay with PvPvE, or do you just want a PvE experience? Or do you want just both to go, well, actually, I want to be able to pick and choose. I want a PvE experience now, I want a PvP experience, I want a PvPvE experience, and you should be able to just go around and find those pretty easily and just go and choose. Are you excited for Alpha 3.24, and are you playing in Wave 1 of that? What do you think? Tell us your favourite ship. Say goodbye, Zin.
Goodbye, Zin.
Thanks very much for watching. You have a great day, and it might be by the time you see this, might be the last time for a little while you can get a Tobii eye tracker at discounts. I think the sale ends today. So check that out in the links below if you want some precision head and eye tracking that's natively supported in Star Citizen. Thanks very much for watching. You have a great day. You stand at the pearly gates. The winged being there weighs your sins against the weight of a feather. You are found wanting. Not a problem for nordvpn.com/BoredGamer though. Just change your location. Boom! You're in. Bypass your sin. Get nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Probably not a tagline that Nord wants, bypass your sin, but that's what they're getting. Maybe they want one about its added security, privacy, or accessibility. Pah, everyone knows that. You get that at a touch of a button. Click these links below to get great deals on that VPN service. Every month we give away a ship, and this month of August is all about your favourite ships, because it's the ship showdown. My favourite ship is the Mercury Star Runner, and I don't want to give one of those away, but I will. It's a fantastic little multi-role, multi-crew ship. It's got a bit of cargo space, it's got room for a little vehicle, it's got a good amount of firepower, perfect little mission runner. In the future it's going to have data running, it's good for smuggling, it's got lots of secret little hidey holes. I absolutely love this ship. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during August. Also, I would love to know what your favourite ship is. If you would like to further support the channel, consider just commenting or liking, subscribing. That all helps. But also there's the join button under my videos. That goes a huge way to allow us to make daily content on Star Citizen. There's also Patreon, sharing the videos, direct donations. There's links to all of that down below. Thank you so much for watching to the end. You take care and have a great day.